Welcome to another Hide and Seek Wildlife and Photography podcast. My name's Alan.
And I'm Keith. And we're here at one of Alan's Scottish photography hides on an extremely wet day. And of course it is chucking it down with rain, so we apologise if you hear pitter patter on the roof. So being in Kingfisher Hide, we will probably just talk about kingfishers. And I've actually prepared some fact sheet, Alan being the expert on kingfishers. So how many different species in the world of kingfishers do we have then, Alan?
I'll start off with a tough one, I don't really know, to be honest. I would guess 50.
87. 87 species.
Well, that proves there's no cheating.
Yeah. And what's the largest species of kingfisher in the world?
Well, I know that one, because we used to have one in Kirkcudbright. It's a kookaburra.
Yeah, you had two for a wee while, in fact.
Two in one day.
Yeah, and it's 15 times larger than our one in the UK. So yeah, so we're in the Kingfisher Hide. So what gave you the love of kingfishers?
Well, I cut my teeth with kingfishers. It was as a young boy, it was the first one I was bird watching before photography. It was kingfishers that sparked my whole interest. I was interested beforehand, but when I seen my first kingfisher zipping up the river, I just like...
But were you like me, really disappointed that it's blooming tiny?
The size, and it was just the blue though, it was just that blue bullet.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, imagine being close to a bird like that.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing about it being blue, it's a bit of a trick of light, because it's all to do with
It's actually
iridescence.
brown, isn't it?
It's all to do with iridescence in the feathers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has to be probably the most iconic UK bird. But I grew up, well, when I was started bird watching, say in the 60s, I had the Wee Observer book of birds, and you open it up, and the kingfisher fills the whole page. So when I saw my first one, I thought,
that's size.
Gee whiz, that's wee. I didn't expect it to be quite as small as that. But yeah, like you always had a fascination from them, and being able to photograph them relatively easy now that with your setups here. But we have done them together under licence twice in the past, and well, you know what happened to the first one.
Yeah, flooded out. But well, I started my photography. It was you that prompted me into getting a camera, and it was kingfishers that I wanted.
Yeah.
So it wasn't easy to start with when you don't know anything about it. It was a case of putting a stick in the water, sitting in a hide and waiting hours and hours. I think it took me about 10 days to get my first ever picture, and it was bloody because I was shaking that much with excitement. But it was just the buzz of seeing that kingfisher there.
Yeah, there's just something about kingfishers, and they are very inquisitive birds, and you just need to stick a stick in the burn that they fly up and down. Where they've got a territory, you don't need to be near the nest, and they will land on it. It might be for 3 seconds, or it might be for a minute if you're lucky, because they're inquisitive. And of course,
a new fishing sport.
Yeah, and there's always the iconic pictures where, I think I've got one of your customers took one sitting in your head.
Yeah.
If I remember, you're sitting in camouflage. I've got it on the fishing rod, albeit it was a sea fishing rod.
No fishing sign.
Yeah, the go fishing sign. I've actually done it on top of the Kingfisher lager bottle. I had to do that one.
The reed mace, that's another.
Yeah, the reed mace. And that's the thing about kingfishers, because they're so inquisitive, you can change the perches, especially when you're in a hide. If you know the bird's coming in every 20 minutes, once it's caught its fish and gone, you can go out and change it for a different perch, or have a seasonal perch for what it is. So yeah, kingfishers. What is the best time of the year for them?
It's an impossible question. Winter, you're practically guaranteed for September through to March. But your visits are right every hour.
Aye.
In the summer, it's either boom or bust.
Yep.
Like so now, he's nested 30 metres downstream, and he's not been in for 10 days because of low water levels.
Means he can fish okay.
Thousands of fish in the river. So he's only using these supplementary feeding stations when he's needing to.
Yeah.
He's not using it, he's not habituated into coming here every day. So a lot of people think, oh, you're feeding and he's relying on you. He's totally not relying on me. I wish he was sometimes, but he's not.
No, and in actual fact, with it supplementary feeding, what is it? If you get hard winter, 90% of the kingfisher population will die.
That's why I love them so much. They're so fragile, and help them as much as I can. If my business stopped tomorrow, I would continue to feed kingfishers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stop because they need the help.
There's just something about kingfishers, and he's a bird that everybody seems to want to photograph.
Yeah.
And yeah, they must remember, if it's at or near the nest or with dependent young, you should have a Schedule 1 disturbing licence for photography
Yeah.
at the nest. And here you're not at the nest, so they come. If they choose to come to sit on a perch, then great, you get a photograph. But they don't need to come.
No,
And a lot of people will say, well, that's easy because they're just coming on a perch right in front of the hide. But yeah, you can say that, but when a kingfisher comes, it doesn't always make a noise. So it just lands. And if you've been sitting for, well, say you've had a long wait,
On
maybe
your
2 hours,
phone.
and you're sitting on your phone, it's gone, and all you hear is plop, oh, what was that?
Missed it.
That's it, you've missed it.
Another
so you've
hour.
got to wait another hour, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So yes, you've got to pay attention. And we're sitting here this morning and we heard that noise, and it was a brood of mallard getting up with its young up
Yeah.
there. So there's other things happening that you should be paying
Aye.
attention to. Definitely.
just going back to the supplementary feeding them, at breeding time as well, I think it's essential because, like you said, 90% of the birds die in winter, 70% of the young die after fledging within the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's all to do with the diffraction.
Diffraction, the way they can see into the water.
You see a fish in the water, if you dive towards that fish, you're going to miss it because there's a bend in the water, and the young ones don't learn this.
No.
In the wild river, they keep missing and they starve. But here, I've got the fish sitting, they miss, they go back, they miss, and the fish are there, and eventually they'll learn, oh, I have to aim just off that to catch it.
And the other thing about the kingfish, young kingfishers, is that their feathers are not fully waterproof at that early stage.
Yeah.
Some of them in a river,
Waterlogged.
if it's fast moving water, they can get waterlogged
Drown.
and will drown.
Yep.
So, but they've also got I think it's a gel in their eye that allows them to see once they get in the water. It almost acts like a polarising filter to allow them when they're in the water to actually see, or maybe even like goggles that we put on to go in the swimming pool. I'm not 100% sure how it works, but I know there's a gel connection to their eyes. So there is.
Amazing.
Yeah, but they're just such special birds. And you know, you're talking about supplementary feeding. I'll diversify a wee bit. We've got blue tits just now nesting in a nest box, and this cold weather, they are really struggling to feed their chicks. So I was putting out mealworms this morning, and they've managed, you can see them, they're breaking them up. So the chicks are obviously still small, and then they're going in and feeding them. So without that, I don't think that these young blue tits in my garden, so I hate to think what it's going to be like in a while, because I was in a wood the other day, and I gave it a branch a wee shake looking to see if there's any wee tortrix caterpillars. Not one. So anything that's hatching now, that they're saying good weather at the end of the week, but we're basically starting the 3rd week of May.
Yeah.
I would expected a bit warmer weather by now.
Going off topic, I'm feeding the red starts and Clive fly at my sites now, and they're hammering the mealworms.
Yeah.
Obviously there's nothing there for
But
them.
it's the same at the stone chart, the wind chart,
Yep.
and the greedy meadow pipit. It takes everything.
It's a lifeline.
Yeah,
Definitely
is. And then, of course, once you've done your famous kingfisher shot, it's been all over the internet. With the beak just touching the water,
that was a few
and everyone's
years
saying,
ago.
"Oh, you can just take it from a video clip." It's not the same. You don't, and it's like what we have discussed before about AI. You know, you can just sit in your computer and create a kingfisher picture just instantly, but you've really got to spend the time in the hide, see the bird,
Soak it up.
and hear it. Because when I was talking to you, I remember I said the kingfisher is like a guy I used to work with. He only knows 2 speeds, and that's full speed and hover. You will never see a kingfisher just gliding along.
That's it. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I never thought about that anyway.
So next time you see a kingfisher, tell me if you ever see it going slow, because they just don't go slow. Which leads nicely to what you were telling me about their beak, the design of the beak.
Oh, the biomimicry. That's the Japanese bullet train. The designers of that were the sonic boom created going through the tunnels. They couldn't
Stop it.
they couldn't design something that stopped it. But then one smart guy or woman, kingfisher beak, copied the exact model of the beak, and it's made a huge difference.
So there's a lot to be found out through wildlife.
That's really interesting stuff.
Yeah, but as I say, back to the kingfisher photography, this is a 365 days a year of the hide. You're not always going to see them, but which is good because then the background changes. So if you're doing it in the winter, you're going to probably have a nice soft brown background.
Golden brown in autumn
Yeah,
here.
and then you get the green at this time of
lush
the year.
greens.
And then, of course, there was the whole other change in thought process this winter just passed, where you started, you asked me about the flash and the sink, and then you spoke to somebody
sync,
else.
yeah.
So the slow sink with the blue trail behind it. And
Which everybody
it
thinks
wasn't,
is
it wasn't,
Photoshop.
yeah, no, I think it's photo, and it wasn't really as difficult as
Except
we
for
thought.
the Canons.
Oh, so just don't mention Canon cameras to me.
Canon
just
Canon flashes.
Yeah, they just seem to have something inbuilt to them that want to make life complicated for everybody.
They want to
Unless
make
you're using Canon flashes, but when you're using third-party flashes, they just seem to block everything you want to do with them.
But
Apologies,
Mastermind,
Canon.
Mastermind here got round it.
Yeah,
with
old technology crept in to do that. But again, it's not as easy as it looks, because I found out when
one visit. That's you.
you get one visit, and it can land on the perch for half a second. It might land for 20 minutes, and you have got to stare at that kingfisher because
Reaction time.
because you've got half a second before when it leaves the perch till it passes out through your camera's vision. So I know I've watched the Formula One guys catching tennis balls, where the trainer drops a tennis ball, and it's a bit like that, because you're sitting there and you blink and you miss it. Is basically the saying.
And that's where the thinking and the skill comes in.
Yeah,
You've got to be focused 100% for that game.
And there are telltale signs with the bird, especially if he's been sitting a while. It starts to do certain things, and he's getting ready. But again, because there's flash involved, and it's off-camera flash, so you're not hitting them straight in the face, you're only going to get one shot because
Each
of the
time.
shutter speed that you're using in the flash, because it's a slow shutter speed. So you get that one go each time.
Yeah, you've got to do it better in the winter time.
Yeah, it's got
low light levels.
Yeah, the conditions have got to right. You couldn't do it in a sunny day, and it's just couldn't get the shutter speeds.
I've got October, the whole month, set aside for that solely.
Right, this coming year.
A few places left, not many, but there's a few.
Yeah, and it's worth doing. As I say, it will test your reaction skills, if nothing else.
Don't expect 100 shots. If you get one or two good ones, you're doing well.
And you never know, it may come in quickly. It depends the size of the fish that it catches. It depends how hungry they are. If there's one or two birds, because that's the thing about kingfishers. I didn't realise that male and female kingfishers do not like each other.
No, even in breeding time.
Yeah, even at breeding time, they're a bit standoffish. But once they've done the business, they'll get on and raise the chicks. But they don't like being close to each other, and you certainly see that if there's one on a perch and the other one comes in.
There's no harmony.
Move.
No harmony in winter.
Move
But it's survival. Because there's only fish are even less in the winter in the river.
Yeah.
And so every bit of that territory counts.
Definitely.
They can't afford to share a territory in the winter.
So how big do you think the territory is, say, on this bird?
Well, this one here, this hide here, I'm near the end of his territory, but it's about 1.5 miles down to the estuary.
Right.
That takes me on to this bird, because they're all short-lived, 2-year average, they don't learn if we nest and if there's some problems. So this one, every year, he nests down at the estuary.
Yeah.
And every year, big tides flood him out, kill all the young or flood the eggs out. Then he moves upstream. But this year I've took it upon myself to
discourage him from nesting down there.
But it was a much bigger job than anticipated.
Yeah, stubborn birds.
Well, I thought I would just cover the blanking that it nests on with scaffolding netting early in the year. So what happened, he come and he sat beside the netting for a few days, then eventually moved upstream 100 metres to another place where he would 100% get flooded. Another 50 metres of netting. This went on for 2 weeks. And now 300 metres of netting later, he eventually moved up to the safe place here where I've made an artificial nest just in the bank with a hole, and he's safe. And I've also, it's worth saying that I put mink traps out. I do everything I can to help them. So any mink coming along, they're caught and dealt with.
Yeah, and the removal of the mink helps other birds like mallards, because there's a lot of mallard nesting about, the oyster catchers, maybe even common sandpipers on the river. So
it's
anything
just everything.
like that.
Even warblers will take any nest that they see.
Because originate from America, they've got this reaction: kill, and stash. That's just the way they do. Whereas if you watch more native predators like stoats and weasels, they will kill and take it away. They won't stash it.
Yeah.
Or not for any length of time.
And the trouble with kingfishers in the nest when they're big young, they're very vocal.
Oh yeah.
Any mink within 20 30 metres,
I'll hear
what's that? And they can climb up a vertical bar, no problem.
No.
So
the other thing, just talking about in the nest, the kingfishers, the young seem to have this fluorescent tip to the beak, so that the parents can see
in the darkness,
where they're going to put the fish.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really, and it's the same. Once kingfishers leave the nest, the young are really quite difficult to tell apart whether they're male or female, because it takes them probably about a year to get. Well, some says a wee bit of lipstick on the bottom for the female, whereas the male has the tends to have the completely dark beak, whereas she's got this nice sort of goldy bit on the bottom though, which is quite nice.
I'm hoping to see that in the second brood if they use it in the artificial.
Yeah, if they're going into there,
it's much like a hide like this, but you go inside and there's a tunnel with glass, and you can hopefully watch them coming up. And it was Robert Fuller that helped me with that one. It was really kind of him, but the sand martins have took over it. So
well, at least it's being used.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait. I think it'll use it in the second brood because it's only 20 metres from the nest now, so we'll wait and see.
And I know before you've told me funny stories about kingfishers, you'd be as well telling audience.
What was the funniest ones? When I first started off, I was dead set in getting my kingfisher picture. So I had a wee bag hide sitting in a wee chair like this, perch up. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was working at 4 in the morning then till lunchtime, then straight out, so I was absolutely knackered. I was sitting in the hide just waiting. Next thing, everything was black. I thought, what's happened? I thought I was dead. I thought I was in heaven or hell. So I was feeling, what's this? I fell asleep for 4 hours, just waiting, exhausted in the chair. So I had to pack all up. But the funniest one was, embarrassing but funny, was a woman, a new customer sent me an email. Alan, I'd like to do a portfolio on kingfishers. I want every shot possible you can give me. Money no object, double-barrelled name. Thought, she's quite a posh woman, maybe rich. So I sent her email back. I can do perched, I can do diving kingfishers, I can do perched with flash, which is nice and low light. I can do diving with flash, which is nice and low light. I can do habitat shot, wide angle, where you get the river and the environment, and sent. That was that. But 15 minutes later, I thought, at the time I was doing underwater shots, you could see them. So I'll just send her a message, say, would you like some underwater shots? So I sent that, away I went. And you know me with emails, I'm not the best at replying quickly. So it was about 4 hours later, email through, just from this woman. All it said was, P.O., I'll not say the words, you pervert. I thought, that can't be for me. I thought, what's happened here? So I scrolled back just to check. Here, I'd done it on my phone. The autocorrect had said, would you like some underwear shots and not underwater shots? I was like, oh my God. So straight back on email, said, look, no, I meant underwater, really sorry. Email returned, blocked. So to this day, that woman thinks I was trying to give her some underwear shots.
So if you get any funny spelling emails back, it doesn't really mean it. and it's very easy to do, because these autocorrects are not always, and I don't like doing text and things in my phone. I just get it out for the kids. In fact, I got a post sent to Dad's keyboard, and all it is thumbs up and OK. I'm not typing out a 3-page essay when I don't need to.
I don't check, man. I'm that busy. I just reply to send. Next one.
That's what it should be. You need to spend time in the field, not inside work.
Exactly. Admin's not my thing.
And as I say, if you're sitting in a high playing your computer, you're going to miss the shots.
It happens too often when you.
But a lot of people do wander about Bankins just looking for kingfishers willy-nilly, which. Yeah, if that's your thing, but I just always worry about disturbance and then flattening the vegetation, unless there's a riverbank path. And there is some places where you can photograph a kingfisher from a distance at the White Sands, where the infamous otter is.
Where they're used to people.
Yeah, but to trash the countryside looking for it, and it's a bit like some years at the Bluebells. the people who just stick to the path. It would be great for everybody.
They
but
don't, no.
It's always somebody wants a picture that's different and wanders out into the middle of the bluebells and flattens the whole patch in the process.
Yeah.
So just a wee bit of thought
Yeah.
goes a long way, and it doesn't then paint other photographers in a bad light
Yeah.
just for one silly person's actions. But
And like, it's not just kingfisher that you're disturbing, it's
no,
all wildlife.
Yeah.
Just walking, imagine 20 photographers here trying for a king. It'd be absolute chaos.
Aye.
But they still.
And it does happen in some places, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of responsible photographers out there as well.
Uh-huh.
So, but not a day to be outside today, certainly not
No.
photographing. But yeah, it's always nice to talk about kingfishers.
The best bird in
The
the
best,
world.
the best bird.
Chris Packham says sparrowhawk. I say kingfisher.
I'll say Tony Hill, just a bit different.
Well, we kind of covered everything today, Keith. You think?
Yeah, I think that's us pretty much covered everything for the day, but people will have noticed that this time they can actually see us, because we got a wee bit of criticism from certain members of my family to say that we should have did the podcast where you can see us. So now you can see us, and this will be, well, depends where you're watching it, available on YouTube via the podcast system there, and I will try and get it, the audio version, straight onto Spotify as well. So but if anyone's got any comments or wants to know anything about kingfishers or the podcast, or can help me how to get it through what they call the RSS link, whatever that is, I'm new to this. You can ask me about wildlife or ask me about cameras, but just don't ask me about technology and getting it onto the internet. So yeah, I think we will think of a subject for the next one.
Hopefully, the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so anyway, thanks for watching and listening. So until the next time, goodbye.
And goodbye from me. Thank you.